Hello, and here in IndiaDares, आज हमारे साथ हैं मुक्ता भाटिया, and she's a resident of New Jersey of Indian origin, and we're going to talk to her. And she's one of the people who's a successful entrepreneur, a social worker. We can call her an activist. So, hi Mukta, how are you?
I'm great, thanks Vivek. How are you doing?
Yeah, very fine. So, Mukta, I mean, from what the research we did about you, I think you did your schooling in India, then you went to college over here. So tell us something about your initial years of life.
Well, parents grew up.
Yeah.
Okay. So with parents, we started off our life kind of in what is today's Jharkhand, erstwhile Bihar.
Okay.
So Ranchi was the largest part of my growing up period, and then parents moved to Delhi.
Okay.
So did my college in Delhi. And of course, there was a big introduction through college. I was an NCC cadet, and that exposed me to different parts of the world. On education, strangely enough, I went back to do my MBA from BIT Mesra, which is also in Ranchi. From there, I landed up taking up a job with Citi Bank, and I started my real life career in Citi Bank in Chennai, Delhi and Chennai. So that is what I was doing while I was in India.
Anything you recall about Ranchi now, about your childhood, which was special? Anything,
I think it had a lot of fond memories. It had a lot of fond memories because, the part of your life when you spend the most amount of time.
Yeah.
That is what you call as a place. So I associate myself from Ranchi more than any other city. While growing up from India, that's what I associate myself most with.
Okay, because
of course, we spent a lot of time. My parents were there. My father's in the coal industry. My sister was born there. So that was also very interesting. So we have a lot of connection with Ranchi, and that can never leave us.
Okay, because now Ranchi, I think it's a very important place in Jharkhand. And I think when you were a kid, it was a joint Bihar, and Jharkhand was a part of that state. So now it's a different state, Jharkhand, and so things have changed over there, I'm sure. So I mean, now that you're in New Jersey, and you've been in Ranchi, so how is the comparison, Ranchi and New Jersey? If I ask you, how do you feel?
It is, let's put it this way. When you start off your own home and you're living across the globe, and your home is where you are. Ranchi has a different role. I mean, let's put it this way. I think one thing important to mention is that in Ranchi, there was the first ever supermarket.
Okay.
Many people may not know. Firayalal is a big store in Ranchi, and I think if my memory goes right, that probably would be the largest supermarket which was available. It was a building, I think it was 3 or 4 floors, and it had a little fish pond we used to play around on. It had clothes and it had suitcases. As kids you go there, and it had its softy ice cream. So it had a lot of stuff which was not in existence, and this I'm talking about the 1970s. So this is really long back. This is before all this, the shopper stops and all the other malls in India and across the globe were happening. So that was what Ranchi was. Today, Jersey is very different from what it was. Of course, the biggest difference is the varied variety of people you meet when you're not in India across the globe.
So how do I define you? I mean, do you have more of a Punjabi traits in you, or more of a Ranchi traits in you, or a Bihari trait in you? How do you define it?
That's a difficult question.
I mean, because you grew up there. So, many people, they tend to imbibe a lot of things from the environment and the place we are born. So, I mean, how do you think? You think like a Punjabi, or do you think like a person from Ranchi? How do you think?
I think I treat myself as far as India is concerned, I treat myself as a very national integration person, because I've grown up in Ranchi. I don't associate much with Delhi because that was a very short period of my time. I was very fortunate in Ranchi, went to a very good school. So that got us into a very diverse group of Indians from across various parts of India. And then not to forget the fact that I spent 10 years in Chennai. So 2 largest parts of my life in India were between Ranchi and Chennai. 9 years in Ranchi and 10 years in Chennai. So those are the 2 places I can associate myself with in India.
Okay. And now that you're in New Jersey, and from what we talked off with people about you earlier, before we had a chat with you, you were in Citi Bank, so you were a banker. And from a banker, you slowly evolved into a person who's a lot into volunteer work, a lot into social work, and you're also running your own real estate with Coldwell Banker Realty, Mukta Bhatia Homes, from what I understand. Yeah. So this evolution that has happened, I mean, from banking to, a lot of social work, how do you define it? What has changed in Mukta Bhatia?
I think the biggest thing which I have to attribute before I go on, jump forward into my career and all that, I think the biggest role in my life has been played by my 3 years, which I had as a National Cadet, Corps Cadet.
Okay.
Okay. So not just was I just a cadet, there are millions of cadets in India who get into an NCC, and everybody associates NCC with parading and marching and wearing a khaki uniform. I also got into NCC keeping that in mind, but realized that there were 3 wings of NCC, which included the Air, Army, Air and Naval, which is basically reflects on the 3 armed services. Was very fortunate to have been selected to be part of the Republic Day camp. And then even better was the fact that I was representing India in an Indo-Canada youth exchange program. Okay. That program doesn't exist, but we were a bunch of just 42 of us who were selected to represent India, and I was one of those 42 people. That gave me a lot of exposure, and I think that has been very instrumental in my opening myself to different things, cultures, as well as being open to the environment around you. So that kind of got me starting when I got my first job in Citi Bank. That was through campus recruitment, which I got through Citi. And I also started the first ever Citi phone banking for India. Okay. Our first ever call center for India, which we called in those days was called Citi Bank, telebanking. And I'm talking about, this is actually 1990. Okay. So that does date me. That does date me, but that is how old telebanking and Citi phone is.
So you were one of the pioneers. You were one of the pioneers who started up.
So from there, Citi gave me the opportunity, moved to Chennai to set up the centralization of operations there. These were all back-end processing, which was being done in Chennai. So I was part of that kind of migration path. So set up a few businesses there. And I think, again, the exposure which NCC got me, besides the business school, we do MBA, a lot of us do MBA, and we do that. And keeping in mind, education has evolved over so many years. But yes, that is what got me into trying and experimenting new things in life. And I was fortunate to have got through with combination of exposure and hard work, did get some great breaks in life.
Okay.
Besides, of course, also finding a husband through that process.
I think that's the most important part.
That's important.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so now I'm in this NCC background that you told me of, and you're still in touch with those people, your batchmates who were in NCC with you at the time?
Yes, actually, not just my batchmates. I, of course, represented Delhi as in the Delhi contingent.
Yes.
I was the best air cadet for India.
Okay.
I was also the Delhi best cadet. And but the biggest thing, because of the entire youth exchange which I went to, which was called Indo-Canada Youth Exchange.
Yes.
I have my closest friends even today are from all over India.
Okay, so the bonding is very strong still.
Yes. We met. We had actually a huge get together, the 25th anniversary for 1987 Republic Day.
Okay.
In 2012, we had a get together in Delhi.
Okay.
We went for the Republic Day parade too.
So how does it feel now after so many years and everyone has grown up, people have moved, in their own lives, how does it feel to reconnect after so many years? How did you feel?
I think the best part about so let me just go back a little. The exchange program which we had, some of us stayed together for 8 to 9 months.
Okay.
That was the time there was no internet.
Okay.
There was no telephone.
Okay.
There were international long distance calls. And if those who remember today's generation doesn't even know a trunk call.
Right.
The 3 minutes, and there you're constantly thinking 3 minutes are over, ab time khatam ho gaya, bill badh gaya, line. Okay. So sitting in a village in India and also sitting in a small town in Canada, we were each other's family.
Okay.
So I have met, and it's very interesting, I met with one of the people who was with me in my group. We had not, I think we last spoke to each other was in 1991 or 92.
Oh, way back.
And last year I had a friend whose son was getting married, and I went to Dallas to visit the friend's wedding. And I picked up the phone and I called him, and he says, you're not staying in a hotel, you're coming and staying here with me. So I stayed in his house, and it was as if from 92 to 2019, there was no difference in time. Of course, we started talking about telling our life story. But the beauty of the relationship of ours has been so strong that if today I need to pick up the phone and call up any of them, I know they're all there.
Okay.
So there is, and I may not have spoken to anybody for the since 1987. There have been people I have not spoken to since 1987. But I know that if I'm there in their part of the world, wherever they are today, it doesn't matter. We're still family.
Now, a question which all of us sitting over here in India, we talk to people with Indian origins who are abroad. We always, how Indian are you still? Are you still patriotic? Are you patriotic after your NCC and, after your childhood in India, your schooling in Ranchi, then Chennai, and then your job in India, which gave you a sort of a start. Are you still an Indian at heart? Are you still patriotic? Does the NCC still remain? Does your parade at Rajpath still, it rings a bell for you? That's my question.
Good question. It's a very good question. I think I have two phases to answer to that.
Okay.
I'm very much an Indian, and I'm very much an international citizen.
Okay.
So for me, I have had the privilege of God has been kind, and everything has been great. I have spent the first approximately 30 years of my life in India. I've spent nearly 12 years of my life in England, and now nearly 8 years of my life in the US. NCC is too deep in your heart and soul to get it out. So Indianism doesn't go, but that does not stop me from being an international citizen.
Okay.
It's a combination of both. It's not binary. It's not that, am I Indian or I'm international? I very proudly say that I'm an international citizen today. And much as I love India, I love England, and this is home. So all three are equal for me. But yes, I am very Indian. Much as if you talk about thinking, personalities, in terms of food, it's a mix of everything.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a very typical, Hindi chaat masala, Bollywood kind of a question. India or America में लड़ाई होगी तो आप किसके साथ खड़े हैं?
ये politically गलत question है अभी, especially in today's political environment. If it was, I would look at it. Okay, there of course India is first for me.
Okay.
India is definitely first for me, so but I would look at it more from a practical point of view. But yes, obviously India comes first in that situation. So that is no doubt about it.
Okay.
That there is no doubt about that part of it.
Yeah. Now post Citi Bank, you went to England. Okay, you were in the United Kingdom, and वहाँ पे आपने, there was a transition in your life, and you started your volunteering work, and your social aspect of your life began. So tell us something about this part of your life now.
So besides, even in India, besides Citi Bank, I was also with what was the foremost ANZ Grindlays.
Okay.
From there, I was setting up their customer service for India, and then moved from there into Standard Chartered when they acquired. And my last role in India in the corporate world was heading the service and customer service, call centers, and service for Standard Chartered credit card business for all India.
Okay.
We moved to London because of a brief project. My husband had a job transfer, so we moved to London. London, I decided to go ahead and kind of get involved more into the community because I had a little bit of a break of time too. So that was best to make use of it and get more socially involved. So, and I wanted to use my prior corporate life wherein I was a business starter, trainer, mentor. So I went into mentoring of young adults. I mean, in India, उनको बच्चे बुलाया जाता है.
अच्छा.
यहाँ पे they're called young adults. I'm talking
Okay.
about from 14 years of age to say 20.
Okay.
Wherein you're shaping your life, your career, you're deciding what you want to do and what you don't want to do in life.
Okay. Okay.
So I was working with a non-profit wherein it was mentoring and helping kids understand or young adults understand the importance of learn to earn and help them in a life trajectory.
Okay.
I also was involved with Save the Children.
Okay.
And that got me into sitting on non-profit boards and being very involved in career development for people. Now, career development doesn't mean everybody wants to become a CEO.
Right.
It could be something as simple as, जैसे हम बोलेंगे इंडिया में कि काम वालों के बच्चे हैं. So people who have from the lower income or people from very high income strata. Whatever you are wanting to do, it doesn't matter what your goal is, can you do a little better than that? Okay. So if somebody wants to be a hairdresser, great, you be a hairdresser, but can you aspire to be somebody who can own a salon?
Okay.
Okay. Or do you really, why do you want to be a hairdresser? And I have a very fond story to say. So I was talking to this young girl. She was, I think, about 16 or 17 years old. She was wanting to be a hairdresser, and that's why I take that example. And I had a long chat with her because her father was a janitor or office mein safai ka kaam karta tha. Mother was a house cleaner, and she was wanting to be a hairdresser because that was progress in life for her. And I sat with this young lady and I spoke to her for about half an hour, and she turns around and she says, you know what, my heart of heart, I want to be a teacher. I said, what stops you from being a teacher? She said, I don't think my parents have the money for me to afford to go into teaching school. I said, put your effort in, work hard. And I had a long counseling session with her. And I said, the hairdressing will give you quick money, teaching is longer. And had a long chat back and forth. And interest, every few months she would call me up. We were not supposed to have shared the numbers, but she managed to get my number and she would call me up and say, you know, this is what I'm planning to do. I used to guide her.
Okay.
4 years later, I get a message from her. I have enrolled for teaching program.
Wow, that's too good.
So, you know, somebody who's come from a background, now you can relate. Her mother was from the cleaning sector. Her father was a janitor. And this girl is now a teacher in a school out there.
Okay, that's too good. Now, I mean, this transition now from a corporate, and now you're coming into the volunteering part and the social aspect of life. What was the reaction of your family, immediate family, your husband, kids? क्या reaction था? कितने supportive थे या नहीं supportive थे? कई बार नहीं होते हैं. हम Indians हैं, हम अपने घर की महिला की हर चीज को support कई बार नहीं करते हैं. तो आपका क्या experience रहा इसमें?
See, I have to say one thing.
Okay.
And I'm very proud of one, and I keep saying this. I picked my husband and I, we met at work. We both met at Citi Bank.
Okay.
We were both colleagues.
Okay.
And I think that's the best decision I have ever taken in my life.
Okay. Okay.
So this thing of husband supportive, not supportive is unheard of for me. Right from the day we guys got married, which was way back in 1992. Today, people are talking about men and women are alike. In my house, from the day we got married, there is no head of the family. There's neither of us take the opinion. Both of us consult each other. And I'm not saying this just for the sake of saying.
Okay.
Both of us have been there for each other. It's not just he has been, both of us have been there for each other. We both had very strong careers.
Okay.
I decided to take a break. He was not happy about the fact that I took a break because before we moved to London, actually, I was in a very strong career trajectory. If ANZ had not sold Grindlay's brand off to Standard Chartered, I was on path to become an ANZ CEO. I was part of a handful of people they had picked out for training to become global CEOs over the next 5 to 10 years. Wow. And that was the time I was actually doing extremely well in my career. And he said, Jo, jahan pe tumhare liye it's better, I will follow through.
Okay.
Of course, London move happened. It was incidental. So yes, it's always been whatever I've done. It's a question of, I think I'm doing this. Just try it out.
Okay. I mean, you're so innovative. Are you pushy with him at times?
No.
No.
I mean, he might have a different opinion about it.
Oh, okay.
I think we truly have a situation. I mean, it's very unheard of for us in my house. Like, okay, this is a man's role or this is a woman's role.
Okay.
It's not.
झगड़ा किस झगड़ा किन
है अगर मैं
झगड़ा किन बातों पे होता है? झगड़ा होता है?
झगड़ा किस बात पे होता है?
हाँ
21 साल की बेटी है,
अच्छा
इसके ऊपर झगड़ा होता है। उसके अलावा
अच्छा,
other than that, no. We have a very, I mean, which is very unusual for a lot of Indian men. And I'm talking to an Indian man on the other side right now. I mean, I come back home yesterday. I had a long day at work, and I come back home and he's making dal.
Okay, that's good.
Post-dinner dishes is his job to do.
That's
so
good.
Because he has limitations on his cooking ability.
Okay.
So we follow our core competencies. मैं खाना ज्यादा बनाती हूँ, बर्तन ज्यादा धोता है.
अच्छा, that's good. अब बताइए, आप फिर लंदन से you move to the United States of America, फिर एक नया देश, a new continent, new life, new culture, a new location. How was this transition? Now tell us about this part of your life. कैसा रहा ये transition? For, you know, again you are changing your base and everything changes. So
there, two things have been helpful. One, NCC, the exchange program, where the motto of one of the biggest things which I still remember has been very critical for that exchange program was learn to adapt yourself in any environment and adopt what you like.
Okay. Okay.
And what you think you can mold yourself into a better human. That was one which I follow that to the core. You know, some things get stuck with you for life, and that's one of those.
Right.
Vikas, my husband, I think attributes that part of it has been helpful for us, because even from moving from northern part of India to south, which is culturally very different, that helped. Right. Moving from Delhi to Chennai, that was a big transition. Chennai to London was a transition, and here. So everywhere I have used that motto, learn to adapt to the new environment, because that is home. And I think the second is the being involved in the local community and being a volunteer helps in meeting like-minded people and helping in being accepted and adopting your new environment as your new home. So that really helps. So when I came here, it was a new place, new location, new environment. And I went straight into joining a local organization here to volunteer. And of course, that was a leadership organization because, you know, that's me. I've done this for such a long time. I automatically digress into that kind of or pick up that path, if that's the right word for it. So I would do that. And I joined a local women's organization out here, which helps women build better communities, which not just helps poor people help or get them food, but also empower them in training them to be able to fend for themselves. So I joined a local women's organization. From there, I got on to another nonprofit. I've been sitting on the board of the Kora Hudson Arboretum, which is a local nonprofit. It has woodlands. It is part of education. So it comes back to education and environment and women. And those are the three which are most close to my heart. So these three, so that helped me get, make this new home.
Okay.
In the new country, new town, new neighbors, new friends, and culturally different. I think having lived in two different parts of the globe, the thing is, when we are in India, we think the whole of the Western world is copy and paste.
Right.
We don't see any cultural difference between one country to the other, one location to the other. The same thing, the Western world thinks that the whole of Asia is the same. They don't realize the difference between whether it's in India or a China or a Indonesia or even in a country, and I say this to all my friends out here, India itself is so diverse that Punjabi or a Bengali or lived in, for me, those areas which I can associate, a Punjabi, Bengali, a Bihari, and a Tamilian.
Yes.
They are, yes, we could have the same binding roots, religion, beliefs, but they are extremely different. In the same manner, England is very different from what America is, and Jersey is very different from what California is.
Okay.
So it is America may not be as diverse in terms of languages and foods, but these are very diverse. So England to London, US was again a great transition. Love this place now. It's home. I have great friends who are there to support. And the non-profit and the NCC guidelines have really helped in
professionally, if we compare your volunteer and the social work that you were doing in London and to the work that you are doing now, what is the comparison that you would like to make? I mean, can you compare?
They are not really the same because they're very different organizations. There I was sitting on school boards, more education focused. Here it is more of women and empowering of women focused. And I think all of us learn, for all of us, change is the only stagnant in life.
What's the future of Mukta Bhatia? What is the future of Mukta Bhatia?
Future of Mukta Bhatia is being successful in my business and contributing to whatever form I can do to the environment around me in terms of helping people as much as I could.
Okay.
And I do actually use the two. So when in my business, which I do in selling, buying and selling, helping people buy and sell houses.
Okay.
Build their home and nest.
Right.
I use a lot of non-profit stuff.
We did not talk about your parents. So you feel you have got the traits more of whom? Your dad, your mom, or one of your masis or buas or chachas? Whose traits do you have? Mukta Bhatia का inheritance कहाँ से? Inheritance आपका कहाँ से आया? आपका temperament, आपकी सोच, आपका IQ, EQ. If I say that you resemble someone more, who is it?
It's difficult. It's difficult to see. My dad, both my parents, I mean, we've been fortunate. Both our parents have been working parents. Okay. My dad was in the corporate world, if I can use the word.
Yes.
Not in the private sector, but in the corporate world. He was a government employee. He was an advisor to the government of India just before he retired. That was his last role. So he's been a regular office worker. Picked up hard work from him and my mother, who was a career teacher.
Okay.
So both of them, I think, picked up a lot of work ethics from both mother and father.
Okay.
Because both of them have been very hardworking. So that picked up, the work ethics came very strong from both of them. I did teaching for a short period. I'm not sure if that is something I would have liked to do as a career. I'm glad I dabbled in it. I got out of it.
Okay.
But if I use the word mentoring, which is not really teaching, so it's using, I think it's picking up on both of them.
Okay.
I do have my sister who's younger. Of course, there were different things which we pick up from there. Corporate was not something which I picked from there because she was obviously younger. And by the time I got married, she was still in school. She was still studying. So that part of it. But I think both of us have picked up a lot of work ethics and integrity in life, which is important for being successful and being a nice human being.
Okay, great. And now tell something about your daughter. You just said झगड़ा होता है तो 21 साल की डॉटर के ऊपर होता है, तो आप बच्चे के बारे में बताइए. What is she doing?
बेटी हमारी 21 साल की है. इकलौती spoiled brat है. She will acknowledge that. I don't think she's that.
Who spoils her more, you or Vikas?
Right now she will say neither.
Acha, okay.
When she was younger, I think I was the one who used to, and I still think a little more than the father does, but yes.
Okay.
She is a very big tennis player.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, not big as an international level. Passionate tennis player. She's been an athlete all through her life. When we moved to London, I think I picked it up more from the aspect that I wanted that as a convenient thing and keep her occupied in a place which is cold and wet. So she started with gymnastics and tennis, stuck with her with tennis because it's there for life. Gymnastics is more short-lived.
Right.
So right from the time she was 7 years old, she's been representing her club in England, and she was playing for her high school in London. फिर यहाँ पे जब आई, यहाँ पे स्कूल के लिए प्ले किया, कॉलेज के लिए स्कूल एक्चुअली कॉलेज की कैप्टन थी.
Okay.
And now she is a tennis coach.
Okay.
So that is what she is. Like every 21-year-old in America who has a mind, she's trying to figure out what she wants to do.
Great. I mean, but you have given her the whole independence. I mean, mentored her.
Yes. She has to figure out her life because that is important. And I think we all have to, as parents, I mean, she might tend to disagree with my statement, but I think we all have to give them their way to figure out what they want to do in life.
Okay, now one thing that I want to ask you. I did not want to make it very political or talk politics with you. लेकिन आजकल जब से especially 2014 our government changed, there is a lot of United States of America happening in India now. We have our Prime Minister visiting over there, and on the television we see Indian community gathering over there, and then you have the Madison Square happening, and so many things happening. So do you feel that the Indian community in the United States of America, it has become larger, more noticeable? If I'm not wrong, I can use more powerful, ज़्यादा votes in the American election. क्या ऐसा कुछ हुआ है वहाँ पर?
See, Indian community, or I think has definitely been increasing.
Yes.
There are more people. Obviously, who I get involved with are more of people who are corporate moves, or American educated or Western educated people. So there are people who have come from, people like us who are pure corporate moves. We never planned our moves across the globe. We even did not plan to move from Delhi to Chennai. Let's put it that way. The bank made us go there.
Okay.
So there are most of our profile of people who we interact with. So are people who are all corporate people who have moved here. And I think everybody has their own independent level of understanding which.
No, जब आप वहाँ पे as an Indian मुक्ता भाटिया देखती हैं कि White House में दिवाली मनाई जा रही है, how does it feel?
See, I think it's okay. That's why I'm giving a very global picture on it. In India, you see in White House में दिवाली मनाई जा रही है. India में वो नहीं दिखता है कि Yom Kippur था तो उसका भी celebration होता है, which is a Jewish holiday.
Okay.
Or when there is Eid, there is a celebration for that.
Okay.
So that is what I was saying, that I am international citizen and I like to appreciate everything. So yes, while that Diwali is great to celebrate, I'm very happy that happens, but also I'm also looking at the fact that it is an appreciation of all faiths across who live in this country. So Hindus are one of them. So just like Christmas is celebrated and Diwali is celebrated, Eid is celebrated, and Yom Kippur and all the other religions which are there, the major religions which exist here.
Okay. And
so yes,
before I close the talk, last and the final question: क्या कोई chance है that Mukta Bhatia comes back to India and settles down over here? Is there any chance of that?
Very difficult question. We have stopped planning. मैं गई थी चेन्नई 5 दिन के लिए.
Okay.
10 साल लगा के आई हूँ.
So next time गए थे. So next time हम लोग ये आपका इंतजार करेंगे IndiaDares में. You come back to India and then you remain here forever with us, right? Thanks a lot, Mukta Bhatia, for talking to us. Thank you. We'll be in touch with you, and we'll have definitely another session with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Vivek.